Hey, badass business owners, do you know what your business's monthly nut is? Well, now that I'm asking, do you even know what a monthly nut is? For example, the first question is asking you the amount. The second one is asking, do you even know what it means? Let's take a few minutes and talk about this because it's one of the important numbers that you need to know and understand in your business. The best way to think about what a monthly nut is, it's basically the amount of money that you need in order to be able to run your business for the month. It's how much all of your expenses are and your costs. So for example, if you just take out all the other calculations, if you were just to add up what it would cost to keep your business afloat. Now, sometimes we've talked about this and called it a break-even point. They are very similar to each other. But the monthly nut is being able to understand how much your business needs in order to survive for the month. Now let's change this a little bit, and I think it'll make a lot more sense. When you think about your home life, forget the business for a second. You know exactly how much money you need every single month in order to survive. You know when you add up your mortgage, your rent, your bills, your utilities, your food, your car, your credit cards, whatever it is, you probably had a number pop into your head when I asked how much you need to make every single month. Some people will say 3,000, some will say 4, some will say 5, some people will say 10, some will say 20. There's a number that goes into your head when you think about what your home personal life's monthly nut is. It's how much you need to make. Well, your business is going to be the same way. So if you have one business, that's going to have its monthly nut. If you have two arms of your business, it will have its own monthly nut as well. What you want to do is you want to understand what's the minimum that you need to make every single month in order to be able to pay your bills. Now, you don't have to have it down to a T, but like I said, it's very similar to what your break-even point is in your business. Some people will just call it your monthly nut. And it's a number that's great to store in your head because, for example, if you need $5,000 a month in order to pay your bills, which is what a lot of people will do, is they'll have a number associated with it. You'll know that, hey, I need to produce this. I need to do what it takes in order to, whether you're getting a job, what you need to bring home from work all the time, or if you have running a business, that business has to be able to create enough money for you personally to pay that home monthly nut. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking as a business owner that you actually are covering all those monthly nuts, because you personally as a business owner, whether you're wearing your employee hat or your business owner hat, need to create that personal nut. You need to also know that that business has to produce two of them. One that's going to pay you, and two is going to create enough profit, at least gross margin, to create enough gross margin in the business to be able to pay the monthly amount you need for your business. And then everything above and beyond that is usually going to be your profit. So if you personally need $5,000 and the business's operational expenses tend to come to, say, $2,000, then you're going to be able to say, my personal nut is $5,000, my business's nut is $2,000, and that's what I need to be able to come up with. Now, you're going to notice that for the most part, I said operational expenses. Your cost of goods, if you recall, are the expenses that you have to make a product or to provide a service, in which case that is going to include the products, the ingredients, or the materials that you need in order to create that product that you sell or that are part of the service that you provide. Now, this is going to sound a little weird, but you're not going to count the products, the materials, and the ingredients when figuring out your monthly nut. Because when we're looking at your monthly nut, we're looking about how much you need to create to survive. And these items are only being purchased if you have sales. So we don't count them in this whole calculation because we're looking at what you do with the money after you pay for your materials. So that's why I mentioned gross margin earlier, because your gross margin is what pays for your expenses as well as any profit you have in the business. So we are not counting your cost of goods for the materials itself. However, we are going to look at one other item. Now, you also have in your cost of goods your labor hours, and this is for the people or the hours that are needed to make the product and or provide the service. In your monthly nut, the question that I get is, do I need to include my people? Well, here's how you have to look at that. Your monthly nut is also including your payroll, because the goal isn't to not have people. The goal is to say that when I pay my people on average, their payroll comes out to $3,000. Now you're going to be part of that payroll, especially if you're the only person in it. So the $5,000 that you're trying to create personally is actually going to be part of that employee payroll. So I know it gets really confusing in there, but when you're creating it, what you're going to do is, as a business owner, you're going to say, okay, my operational expenses come up to $2,000, but my entire payroll typically runs $3,000. So I need to make sure that I have enough for my operational costs and I have enough to cover my payroll that I'm typically going to use. That's your actual monthly nut inside of your business. So some of it might be hidden over there in your cost of goods because payroll is included. And if you really look at your P&L, and as you get better at your P&L, you also know that your payroll is actually in both categories, because the actual payroll for the labor piece is sitting in your cost of goods, but the money you spend to have a payroll, any operational people, but the actual payroll, what you pay ADP, for example, or Gusto, any fees, taxes, and all that stuff, that's going to be under your expenses. So payroll is kind of hidden in both categories. So you want to make sure that you take all of your operational expenses plus the additional money that you're paying out for labor hours. So your monthly nut is something you really want to make sure that you get, because now when you're looking at your business, you can reverse engineer it. All right, so let's just go ahead and make an example here. Let's say that when you run the numbers, you find out that your personal nut is $5,000 and your business's nut, including any labor it needs to pay you, is also $5,000. So now you've got $5,000 and $5,000, but your total nut that you're looking to get isn't necessarily going to be $10,000. And here's why. Your business is paying you $3,000 on average. So I'm going to assume that you might have a spouse or significant other that is making up the other $2,000 in which your family needs for its nut. So that makes sense? So sometimes some of that money isn't 100% out of you. Now here's the problem. If your monthly nut is 100% dependent upon what you make in the business, the odds are that your nut is going to be the $5,000 you have plus any additional money that the business has to create. In which case, all $5,000 that you need a month is being paid out of your business. The odds are your business's nut is not $5,000 like you think it is. The reality is your business's nut is it needs to produce $5,000 for you, plus it has to still pay the bills and the operational expenses for the business. So you might find that the business's operational nut really is $7,000 or $8,000 because you are going to try to take and get $5,000 off of it for you personally so that you can go home and pay your monthly nut. I know this is getting confusing, and I know some people are going to be, Tammy, you're talking in circles. I'm so confused. That's not what I'm trying to do here. It is confusing. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of times businesses are having to rob Peter to pay Paul and having to move money around, and they don't understand why they just don't have any money. Because the reality is your business has to produce a certain amount of money every single month. And for most of you, the vast majority of your personal monthly nut, what your family needs, is actually coming out of the money that you make from the business. But your business still has other expenses that it needs to make as well. So a lot of times, if it's just you supplying the money for the family and your family needs $5,000, then it's you need to be able to create that $5,000 between employee payroll and owner's draw in order to get that $5,000. But you also need to create enough money to pay all the other bills that you have in your business. And if those add up to $2,000, then your business's monthly nut is actually $7,000. These are a lot of numbers, and I know it. Because the next step is actually to figure out how you're going to come up with that $5,000 that you need to make, and say, okay, well, I need to be able to create $3,000 in employee wages, and my business needs to produce $2,000 I can take out as owner's draw at the end of the month. So I need to have at least, $2,000 profit. The reality is you need more than that, because like I tell you guys all the time, your profit goes to taxes, retained earnings, and owner's draw. So the odds are the business actually needs to create more like $5,000 to $6,000 in profit so that you can take that extra $2,000 and still get paid the $3,000 as an employee. I say all this because once you know your numbers, you're going to able to work it backwards and start figuring out what it is that you need to create in business in order to make that happen. If you think about it personally, when you have a $5,000 nut at home, let's just say you didn't own a business, okay? What's going to happen is you're going to go out and find a job. Now, hopefully you're going to find a job that's going to create $5,000 in take-home pay. If you find a job that does not take home $5,000 in pay, you're going to go out and you're going to DoorDash, you're going to find a second job, you're going to try to find a way to level up or to get more money into the home. Some of you started your business because you were in that situation where you were at your job only making $4,000 and you needed to start a side gig in order to make that extra $1,000. That's how your business was born in the first place. The reason you were able to determine that you needed to do something different was because you had this monthly nut of $5,000 that you had to hit. I just want you to be that confident in your business's number as you are in your personal one. Because I can pretty much go up to anybody and ask them how much money they need to make a month in order to survive. And personally, they're going to know their number. They're going to have that number at the tip of their tongue. They're going to if you think about it, when people retire or start to ease back out, they're like, all I need to do is once everything's paid off and I'm debt free, I just need to have about $2,500 a month and I can live off of that because I don't have any of those other expenses. All the way up to people that are drowning in debt and don't know how to get out of it. And they're sitting at home and they're like, oh my God, I got to come up with $6,000 a month in order just to be able to breathe, never mind to be able to get debt free. Make sense? Most people know that personal one. I want you to be the exact same way with your business because like I said, your business has its own bills it needs to pay, but it also has the employees in the business it needs to pay. And one of the biggest employees in any business is you, the business owner. So if you're getting paid 100% employee wages and no profit, then you need to be able to create enough jobs to create that same $5,000 as an employee that you're going to need to be able to be paid. But in most cases, you have a combination of employee money that you're making and owner's draw with what you're making. And if you've decided not to work in your business anymore and only have employees, I'll guarantee you that's where you're struggling the most, is understanding, wow, I keep replacing myself in the business. Well, you've given up that income as an employee. Now your monthly nut that you need personally needs to 100% come out of the profitability of the business. So it shifts within the business for your piece personally that you need to try to get out. But the business's other expenses will continue to grow. So if you continue to grow by adding more people, you're going to have that payroll that's $2,000, $3,000 that used to be yours that now belongs to other people, plus the $2,000 to run the business, and you're left over with whatever happens. And that may or may not hit your personal nut that you're trying to get. Hopefully this hasn't been too confusing. I just want to, one, explain what monthly nut is, but two, it's a number that if you keep in your head, it helps guide you, if you will, with what you need to create in the business financially to be able to help translate to create what you need at home. And if you do have a spouse and you guys know your monthly nut is, say, $6,000, then no, all right, the other person's job is going to create this much of it, and my business needs to create this much of it. And then when you're doing your business, just know, okay, when I structure out this, my goal is to make as much money as possible, don't get me wrong, but I know at minimum, I need to be getting out of the business a certain amount, whether it's through my employee wages or the profitability of the business when I take out my owner's draw. If you have any questions, just let me know. Put them in the comment section below. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to email me at tammy@localsmallbusinesscoach.com. I'll try to help with that. Like I said, I hope I didn't make this too confusing, and hopefully it started to make sense when you were going through it. It's just, like I said, people know what that number is at home. I want you to know that number for your business like the back of your hand. I want you to know what it is that you're striving for to make happen in the business. And then the goal is, if you need $5,000 out of the business, that we get it to where it's producing $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 for you. So you never have to worry about that again. You can hit your monthly nut, you can hit your business nut, and you can continue to make even more money and build up those reserves in both the business, and you can build up and get debt free in your personal life, and you can start paying off, like I said, all those bills, and you can start saving for your future, buying a house, whatever it is that you want to do. But it all starts with knowing how much is the minimum that you need, both personally and in the business, to accomplish both goals. All right, with that, I'm out of here, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, badass business owner, before you go, as you know, I'm a huge believer in you knowing your business numbers. After all, it isn't about how much you sell, it's about what you keep. And the best way to grow your profits is to start diving in and understanding those business numbers. To help you on this journey, I have created the Know Your Business Numbers course. We will walk through how to read your profit and loss statement. You'll learn the key calculations that'll help ensure that you're making a healthy profit on all of your products or services, plus a ton of other good stuff that'll help you learn how to use those business numbers to create even more sales and profits. Just check out the link below in the show notes or visit knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. So if you're ready to increase those profits, it's time you start diving into your business numbers.